Welcome to my show. A guest here. His name is Scott Grace. Mr. Scott, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very good. Thanks for asking, Ted.
Thank you so much, Mr. For the opportunity, Mr. Scott. Firstly, you are an author. You are also a coach and a speaker. Can you please, Mr. Scott, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Mr. Scott?
It's a very interesting question. I could spend hours answering that question. What I would prefer is that I devoted my life from age 18 to to finding out who am I, who am I not, how has my parents and my culture trained me to be less than who I really am. And as I started to awaken to who I really am, I became aware of certain gifts that I had to help others who are also had that yearning to come home to themselves, to know who they are in relationship to a loving, supportive universe, and of having 62 years on the planet, doing everything from leading workshops to writing books to doing stand-up comedians. Um, I've had a lot of fun, a lot of joy, and a lot of meaning in helping others.
Yes, and also, it is very, very traumatizing and even inspiring in our time today. Sometimes we are always meant to be defined how we want to live our life and bringing the perspective and making people to live the fulfillment, what they really want to do and what they really want to become in their life is very, very inspiring. And that is why I want to dive to your book, Mindful Masculinity, Mr. Scott. Can you please discuss more on that book? And are you also planning on writing more book in the coming future, Mr. Scott?
Sure. Yeah, this is my fifth book, and I'm working on another one. Mindful Masculinity. It's kind of hard to see, but it's a book for men and it's also a book for women. And it was a response to words that were becoming very popular in my culture, which was toxic masculinity. And I thought, okay, there is such a thing as toxic masculinity, but I see a lot of men feeling ashamed just for being men. And that is not helpful. And so there is such a good thing in masculine energy. It doesn't have to be hurtful. It can save lives. It can protect lives. It could create. It could be the very energy that takes you from fear to courage. And so, really, the book is a resurrection of the beautiful things that authentic masculinity does in the world and how it can dance more in harmony with feminine energy, which is right. The true purpose of the masculine energy is to serve our own minds, the intuitive right side of the brain, the feminine side that's in all of us. So, so the book is a celebration of masculinity. It's also a lot of soul searching on my part. It's partly a memoir of my relationship with being a man, how much I made myself wrong, how much I doubted myself, and in writing the book, how much I freed myself from all that self doubt.
Oh, that is very important. And having this kind of society one has find himself to have a point of having some kind of toxic masculinity or some kind of natural belief that makes a lot of men really not value themselves as men and see themselves as people who want to impact the society. It's very, very concerning and it's something one has to deal with. And people like you who have been in this world for years, even a long time ago before the time of technology, are the ones that is going to let us understand that these things are very essential and the reason we could definitely impact the society and improve our life with no matter the gender we find ourselves. Thank you so much for the insight and also the book Mindful Masculinity. And also, I would like to dive to the point
Mhm.
of vulnerability. Vulnerability has been something that has been difficult for men to embrace in our time today. So, why do you personally, Mr. Scott, think vulnerability has historically been so difficult for men to embrace? And what do you think is changing in our time currently, Mr. Scott?
Our roles are changing. Um, and it used to be that it was a very simple thing. Men were the hunters and the gatherers and the protectors, and women stayed at home and raised and nurtured children. And now women are coming into their masculine sides, men are coming into their feminine sides. And to be in the world requires more of us. And vulnerability is a superpower that most men have learned is a threat. Like, I can't let people know that I'm afraid. I can't show my tear. I can't speak about how hurt I feel. These raw emotions are not allowed. But it's changing very quickly. And many many women are in a sense demanding that their men learn the language and the consciousness of vulnerability. Hey, if you want to be with me, dude, you got to become emotionally available. And what does that mean? Emotionally available. Partly it means being available to listen to her emotions, but it also means, hey, I want to know what's going on inside of you. I want to be able to feel you. And, men are no longer required to be just fearless, brave warriors. We're also now being implored to become really good lovers and listeners and reflectors. And so it's a whole new evolutionary stage. And the paradox is that it takes courage for most men to be vulnerable. And courage is a masculine trait. The masculine loves to go to where it's never gone before, to to fly to the moon. The masculine loves a good challenge. So right now, the main challenge of the masculine is to learn to have the courage to be vulnerable.
That is very, very, very inspiring and very powerful. Time has really, really changed. And we have to know that having this kind of courage is very important for us to have this vulnerability. We shouldn't be a person that could have some kind of one or two things that could definitely have the kind of braveness we have. We have to definitely have the courage to do a lot of things because that is how we can have this mindful masculinity that will really, really help us. And also, I would like to dive to the point of vulnerability, not to be as a point of weakness. A lot of people feel like if someone is vulnerable, it could be as a point of weakness, not a strength. So, how do you think men can also begin to see vulnerability not as a weakness, but as a radical strength and source of connection? And also, what do you think are also the practical steps men can also take to reconnect with emotions that may have been buried or may have never been allowed to express, Mr. Scott?
Ah, I don't know if there's a straight line but usually men have to be hit over with a sledgehammer or an addiction or a hitting bottom or a divorce or a bankruptcy where their egos plan for success, keeping it all together, playing a traditional role, it backfires, it explodes, it no longer works, and a man finds himself on his knees and doing the hardest thing in the world to do, which is to ask for help.
Yeah.
Um, from other men, from 12-step programs, from a therapist, from a coach. And one of the hardest things for a man to understand is he can't do this kind of thing by himself. A man doesn't learn to be vulnerable all by himself. We lean on each other for that, to teach each other.
Wow, that is very important. And that is the value and the beauty men are during those historic time. During that time, there is more of this kind of getting together. Men come together, do things, and do a lot of things that could definitely help each other, whether with every emotion or everything that he or she is passing through. There's this kind of connection with the men, community with the men that definitely help every single man. But now that we are in a point whereby a lot of people are isolated, which I think is happening, is making a lot of men to find it very difficult and even get to a point of coaching and also other things, coaching therapies, drugs, things like that that are not really healthy sometimes, that will definitely damage them the more. So it is a very, very, very sensitive time currently now for men most of the time. So definitely, I also like to know the practices and daily habits you think men could recommend. You've had a lot of experience regarding those perspectives. So, what do you think are some of the reflective practices or daily habits you could recommend for men who probably want to live with more emotional presence and authenticity, Mr. Scott?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind, which I do myself, is journaling.
Hmm.
So I just check in with myself each day. Hey, how you doing? How you feeling? What are your goals, hopes, dreams? What are you scared of? What are some of the things you're worried about? So it's like there used to be a taboo for men to really get to know themselves, and it's about breaking that taboo and turning loving, curious attention towards yourself. What am I feeling? I don't have a clue. Okay, well, um, could I be frustrated that I don't have a clue? Yeah, I'm frustrated because I don't know what I'm feeling. Well, frustration is a feeling. That's the beginning. Good job. Um, yeah, you ask for practical steps. I put my hands on my heart and I take some deep breaths into my belly and then into my heart.
Hmm.
There's indigenous practices to connect with the earth. There's getting off the freaking internet and the phone and just stepping into on the earth, stepping into the grass. The earth already knows how to live sanely and humanely. So for many of us, just letting go of always looking at our phones is a healthy first step. That you got to let go of the distractions and and just face yourself. I have a mirror and I actually look in the mirror for about a half an hour in the morning and I just talk to myself and I make affirmations and I check in with myself and I engage in appreciating myself. So mirror work is pretty helpful. Admitting that you're criticizing yourself, admitting that you're hating yourself, being really brutally honest about um, just the truth. One of the masculine swords to go into the healthy warrior is to tell the truth really honestly to yourself. You know, that's a very masculine sword that cuts through the bullshit.
That is honestly very, very valuable, honestly speaking. So, journaling and having this kind of breathing, breathing in, breathing out, are one of the futures that could definitely help one to live a presence of authenticity, because it's definitely not an easy thing to live authenticity and stay in truth to oneself. Having the truth to oneself and maintaining that truth is definitely something that will really help someone to build this kind of authenticity. These are futures that we definitely need in our time today. There is a lot of distraction, as you said earlier, the social media, everything distraction that is really, really keeping us a lot of busy. But we have to definitely have time to do things like this to help ourselves, not to help anybody, but to help ourselves in the heads and the generation we find ourselves. Thank you so much for the insight, Mr. Scott, and also for the next generation, which I can't even imagine how it will look like for the boys who are coming now. So, how do we think we can teach the next generation that real power includes empathy, softness, and emotional intelligence, Mr. Scott?
Ah, well, I have a daughter, and just the other day we were at a hotel, and I saw a man who was really buff. Like he looked like he spent his whole life in the gym. And he was black and he had all kinds of tattoos. And my first judgment was stay away from this man. He's dangerous. And and then I realized, Scott, you're being really prejudiced. You are prejudging this man because of the way he looks. And as fate would have it, he got online right next to us for the breakfast. So in front of my daughter, I turned around and I just, with a big smile on his face, 4 to 7 hours a day, 7 days a week. I am in training for this big thing. And I said, "What are you going to do if you win?" He said, "Well, I'm going to start a foundation for underprivileged kids and help bring some of them and my family members to the United States because they're all in poverty in Jamaica." So suddenly, this man who I had assumed was dangerous, his biggest heart was his biggest muscle was his heart. And so what I'm doing for the next generation is challenging my assumptions and my prejudice. And my daughter was looking over her shoulder and taking notes in a sense. So this is what we can do. We can model healthy relationships. We can model that, and the kids know what to do. They're more in touch with human nature than we are, so they have to be taught to be afraid, but actually if we show them that we're not afraid and that most people are friendly, strangers can be friends, and to assume the best instead of the worst. That's how we teach the new generation to be who they really are. And they're going to be our teachers. Pretty soon, they're going to be way ahead of you and I.
I definitely 100% agree with that. You understand? We have to learn how to teach the next generation in the right way because they are the one that will definitely teach us the necessary thing we need to know. And this next generation, teaching them how to be, sometimes you just have this kind of afraid and fear sometimes to also know how to deal with circumstances in life is very necessary. And you can see the beautiful story you said about that dark man. You know, who would definitely know that such person has such a very beautiful heart, and that is the beauty of the life we found ourselves today. Sometimes we just have to know how to get to know people and also get to connect, but our next generation, we definitely need to treat and teach them right and get them the information they really need so that they can definitely have a very productive life in the life they've come to in this world and in this generation we find ourselves. And also, Mr. Scott, there might be a message that you would like to leave, even regarding your book, Mindful Masculinity. So, if you could leave any message to those could be listening anytime from your heart, what do you think it will be, Mr. Scott?
Well, first of all, I would say um, go get the book. On Audible, I read it and I include 3 hours of music. So that's Amazon Audible, Scott Gray, Masculinity. And you can also read more about my work and stay connected with me by going to my website, scottsongs.com, SCOTTSONGS.com, where I encourage you to subscribe. But as far as a closing message, um, I would say the world is changing. depending on what pair of glasses you're looking at, it looks like it's getting worse, or it looks like it's getting better a lot faster. And I think it's getting better a lot faster, but that scares the people who are wanting to keep it the way it is, or even go backwards in time. So the media reports about all the fear, but don't look at the media if you want to see how much positive change is going on in the world. Listen to podcasts like this one and the thousands upon thousands of others that are broadcasting the positive news that is going on in every family, in every village, in every city around the world.
Mm. Very, very powerful. Honestly speaking, that is the beauty, that is it. We have to listen to the right thing. The media is very, very, very intriguing. Like it could definitely drive us to some kind of pain that is this really happening? But definitely, as you said earlier, a lot of things is changing very fast and getting to get aligned with the humanity and the connection, listening to a lot of podcasts that really have those features within it is definitely inspiring. And also your lovely book will definitely help them to understand better when it comes to this masculinity and understand more better how they could deal with a lot of circumstances they found themselves. Thank you so much for those insights, Mr. Scott. And Mr. Scott, there's a question I normally ask during the end of the show. From our forefathers, from our ancestors, there are a lot of beautiful things that do exist during that time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Mr. Scott, what do you think that thing will be, Mr. Scott?
I am going to refer to a tradition that I believe has its roots in Africa, in which when somebody did something wrong or inappropriate, they would be put into the center of the circle, and people would go around and share, I think, beautiful appreciations about who that person really is. And that person would be reminded that who they are is good, who they are is God, who they are is part of the community, they're valued. And that would have much more of a profound impact on people than putting them in prisons and punishing them. So, uh, yeah, the, the, the elders of our time have secrets like that. And we used to learn them through stories by campfires. Now we have the internet, but we need to hear more and more stories like that. That's the bottom line, because that's what works. Is when we are acting in a way that's unloving, we need more love, not less.
Yes, and that is the way the world that will definitely grow and the world will definitely improve. That is the way every single one of us will win. That is the way every single one of us will be able to help each other, assist each other, and see each other in terms of difficulties. Because, as you said in the story, as you said earlier in Africa, that is the beauty. No matter what you're passing through, I think this love, this care is still going to be fine with you, so that one won't have the reason to do the other side or have the reason to think otherwise in the life he or she has come for. Every single person should have a chance to live a life that is meaningful, live a life that is accomplishing, and live a life that will definitely benefit the society. And we are the ones that could definitely make that happen. I want to definitely also use this opportunity to thank you for the time and the opportunity. This is definitely a very important conversation, and we definitely hope things definitely continues to improve and change in the coming future. Thank you so much, Mr. Scott.
It has been an honor, Mr. T.
All right.
Bye for now.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.